Hey, you're listening to the Superpower Radio Show with your host, Brenda Major,
Mia Dawson.
and you may even be watching us on our YouTube channel or on Instagram. And if you are, we are so excited because it's our first anniversary. Woohoo! And we were sharing in the first episode of this particular topic that
Mhm.
when we first started this, we didn't know what we were doing. But I think we were probably guided by God for sure. And we realized that, there's so many people out there who just need a break from being a
Yeah,
caregiver. They
yeah.
need some tips on being a caregiver. And
Mhm.
one thing that has just struck me from you and from everybody we've talked to is you guys have all said when you got the diagnosis, you felt like you were just out there all alone.
Yes.
There is no one book that says, hey, your kid has autism. Read this book and everything will be cool. I mean,
I haven't
there are
seen
lots of
that.
books, but nope, that doesn't
Nope,
work.
I haven't seen that.
That is not how it works. And look,
No.
if you could write the book, you would, but the reality is, like you always say, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
That's it.
And we
Yes.
know that, oh my goodness, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too, how all the diagnoses have just been growing
Oh my
exponentially.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
So, listeners and viewers, we just want you to know that you know somebody who's on the autism
You sure
spectrum.
do.
You
You sure
do.
do.
And so, tell your friends who may not be listening to this because they don't think that they understand it or know anything about it. Well, everybody's still learning about it, but the
Yeah.
important thing is there's always something that you can do to help somebody, whether it's the caregiver or the super kid or the super adult.
Mhm.
One thing is just to be kind.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, don't jump to conclusions about people. We were talking about some of the folks who stood out to us, who we just have had the privilege and the honor to meet, to interview,
Mhm.
now to add to our community.
Yes.
Um, and one of the people we met at a book fair in the rain on a
In the rain, pouring rain, cold.
yeah, we didn't have a
We
lot of
still sold books.
customers.
We still sold books though.
We did still sell books. We did, even in the rain, in the cold, in Chicago.
We got a beautiful product. It worked in the rain.
Yes, our books still sold in the rain. And we met another author, Dr. Brooklyn Gervais.
Mhm.
You don't know people until they start sharing their story. You
Yes.
cannot tell by looking at somebody what they've gone through and what they're going through. And Mia, the
Absolutely
thing
true.
that struck me when she started talking, you could tell she had a little bit of a delay in
Yes.
her
Yes.
speech, but
Yes.
otherwise, I was so drawn by what she was telling us. Can you imagine if somebody came up to you, you're living your best life, you're an administrator, you're a world traveler. She spoke several different
Different languages.
languages.
Mhm.
She was
Mhm.
an administrator at a school where she actually provided programming and support for
Yes.
kids who had special needs. Um,
Right.
and then somebody tells her one day, you know what? You are going to actually have two different lives. The life you're
I
living
was blown
now,
away because I was trying to figure out. I was like, would I have rebuked that person? I probably would.
you know, you definitely be like, are you trying to put a hex on me or what?
Did I just? I'm gonna just pull this off. No, we're gonna rebuke all this.
Right. That's like,
Yeah.
and I think she will be quick to tell you now that it's not like the woman was saying you're going to have a second life that's just going to be hell.
That's true.
Um,
That's true. That is true.
but she went through hell
Yes, she did.
to
Yes,
get
she
to
did.
this second life, and she's
She
just
did.
found more joy and more strength
Yes.
now. So, just listeners, just in a nutshell, here this accomplished woman is driving down Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, which, granted, is a tricky little strip of road,
It
and
is.
the
It is.
conditions were bad. and
Yep.
she got into a horrible accident, ended up with a concussion, and she didn't realize it. So
Right.
she
Right.
didn't go seek any medical attention until things started to go downhill quickly. She lost her
Yes.
strength, she lost her movement in her limbs. I mean, just over a period of a couple of
Couple
days.
of days. Yeah. She said a
Yeah.
couple of days. Yeah.
And then she found out that she had had a massive brain injury
Correct.
and
Correct.
had to learn how to walk, how to talk, how to think, how to do everything again.
Yes.
And then she actually became one of those folks with special needs who she
Yes.
used to provide services for.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yes. Yes.
she, again, these people who are filled with those superpowers, who meet those challenges, she was determined to help other people.
Yes. Yes.
It's a long process. She's still going through it. But then she created the Kenna Foundation. And Kenna means like people of fire or born of fire. And I think you would agree when you talk with her, you
Yeah. Oh,
see the
yeah.
fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
You see the fire, you feel the fire, and you know that there's just a passion that she has a message that she really wants to get out to people. So she started the
Yes,
Kenna
ma'am.
Foundation. Big part of it is raising money for scholarships to
Mm-hmm.
help young women who are overcoming certain challenges to go on with their lives, to get additional training, to go on to college,
Yes.
to realize that whatever they're going through is really just a stepping stone.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And
And
then,
I think I like she said, um, she's told us that she always, and I was like, oh, what kid says this? Remember, she said she always wanted to go into philanthropy. I can't even say the word
philanthropy,
philanthropy.
yeah.
Yeah. Because,
Yeah.
and I was like, huh, you don't hear that when you're a kid. You hear teacher, doctor, lawyer, nurse,
Mm-hmm.
football player, basketball player. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was really interesting that that was
Right.
something
I'm
she
glad you
always
remembered
wanted
that.
to do.
Yeah.
And I found that because you just don't hear a kid say that. You don't hear a
No,
kid, because she said that's
no.
something she wanted to do when she was a little girl.
Good. I'm glad you remembered that because just reminding me as you were talking that, in her first life where she was living what most of us would think was her best life,
Yes.
she
Yes.
didn't necessarily have this type of philanthropy on the brain at
Correct.
that point.
Yes, you're right.
She was doing and giving, but not like she is now.
Yes, very true. That's
Not like
very
she is
true.
now. And so we interviewed her, and then we brought on a good friend of hers who is her illustrator, Skylar
Yes.
Eason, because
Yeah.
they have started doing what we're doing, writing a
Yeah.
series of children's books. And so
Mm-hmm.
they shared the first one with us called Ellie and Bridget's First Day of School. And what the book brings out is that, normal isn't normal.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or things that you think are not normal are normal.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
in other words, just get to know people. So all the characters in the book are dealing with their own challenges, but
With the
man,
yes.
dude, aren't we all dealing with
We dealing with everybody dealing with something.
yeah,
Everybody. Yes.
everybody
Yes.
is going through something.
Yes.
So um,
Yes.
we know that they're writing their next book. I don't know how many they're going to come out with, but when they do, we're going to have them back on the show so we can
Yes.
talk to them a little bit more. And then, most recently, you met this woman. I mean, I think this was just God opening a door that.
That is exactly what it was.
So, yeah, we didn't see that coming. So I don't know,
No.
maybe you did.
I had no clue. I did not. I said this on our previous show. With us being a part of iHeart, we end up opening up to YouTube and having to get a social media person. You and I not knowing anything about none of this stuff,
Right.
and so we have our own. Super has their own Facebook page, and I wasn't paying attention to it because I'm like, she got it and she want me to
Yeah,
do something. I did give her
we
whatever she
just do
needs,
it.
and I'm like, just tell me what you want. You and I both were like that. Whatever you want, we'll give it to you. But I wasn't paying attention to it. And I happened to be sitting down, I think it was a Sunday, and I just flipped through the superpower page, and this young lady, Sarah Bradford, came up and said that she would like to meet us and talk to us, via Zoom and find out more about. And I was like, what? how did you even find it? What are you talking about? Like, how long? And I think, thank God because I think she may have been out there a day or two because I didn't look at it. And so that was totally God, because he know we don't even look at that. We don't pay attention to
Yeah,
people.
not as much as we should. I think we will
Not
now.
as much as we should. And I think now after that, that was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna pay attention now.
Mm-hmm.
Because her reaching out has opened up some other doors for us. Her reaching out has opened us up to Saturday. We're going to be celebrating. We have been invited to the International Podcast Day. And so we're going to do that live. And so this was definitely a door opening, I would say. Sarah, she's in her 40s, and she got diagnosed with autism then, after also having a daughter, a son, and a husband.
And a husband.
Autism, guys. That's what it was. Me
Yeah.
and Brenda were kind of like, what? How does that work? So, and her kind of saying even she knew something was going on when she was younger, but nobody could pinpoint it, and all the struggles. And she said her life all started to make sense once she got the diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I felt her for that. Like, how could you imagine living in a body all this time, even as a kid, and you know something wrong and nobody's giving you the answer?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, she gets it in her 40s.
Yeah.
So she has started, she does a lot of advocacy too. If I can sum it up for the listeners, a lot of advocacy. Mm-hmm. She collaborates and puts a lot of different people together. She did the International Autism Conference, which was 1 in 44. She did that in 2022. And then she did the 1 in 36 mix this year, which I was a part of. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely insane. I had never seen so many different superpower gifts in my entire life. I'm like, where have these people been hiding? I mean, guitar playing, musicians, book writers, therapists.
Yeah, wasn't there even like a beauty queen who's
a beauty queen? Then she was the beauty queen. He was autistic, and I'm like, how's this working? So you see the dynamics in marriage. You've seen fathers, you've seen kids. It was insane of how much is out there. I think it opened me up to how much is out there, because I think being where we are, in the Midwest, in our small community, we're in a bubble sort of. You don't see all that.
Yeah, we just don't have that reach. And
no.
When talking to her about how did you name the summit? Well, that 1 in 44, it's because in 2022
it was
1 in every 44 people, listeners and viewers, are being diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And then just a year later, it's now 1 in 36.
Yeah. Because I was nervous. I know she's doing it next year. I was like, what is it going to be? Yeah. Like, I was even scared because she said she's doing it next year. And I'm like, what's the number going to be? Like, what? Yeah, that was a little, because that's a big jump. I'm sorry, 44 to 36. What is it going to be? 20? That's scary.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it just lets you know that, one, I am hoping that more people are recognizing, okay, something's not quite right. I don't think exactly the way that these people think. I don't communicate quite.
Yes.
Let me go get checked out, like she did, because she recognized it in her kids when they were young. And oh my goodness, when she was talking about her son, like he was reading at 1, but he wasn't really communicating. So he wasn't really talking to people. So, for her to think, okay, if my son has it and my daughter has it, oops, maybe I need to get checked out myself. Whoops, I got it, and my husband has it. So I think that means that we're all doing a good job of bringing awareness to it.
Yes.
But I have to say, it doesn't mean that, it gives you the right to like point at people like, yep, you got autism. Ooh, you got autism. It's not a disability. It's just a different.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
So those of us who are neurotypical, look, we just haven't been checked out yet. We don't know.
That's all it is. Because I swear, I think I had something too, and they just don't need. I said, Mom and Daddy didn't figure it out. And I actually do have a learning disability. So I
Okay.
had something too, and that got diagnosed at senior year of high
Hmm.
school. And I mean, I haven't talked about, of course, we're going to talk about it on the show at some point, but I
Sure.
was diagnosed at senior year. And so you're going through life. That's why I think I could feel what she felt when you're going through life, like,
Yeah.
this is not connecting. And then, hello, can somebody help me? Because this is not connecting. I think what
Right.
was really hard, she seemed to had come to peace with it, but I was like, her parents not understanding. And she
Yeah.
really saying her
Yeah.
father not
He
coming from the
wouldn't have.
military background and what he believed in and not really understanding. And she didn't have that support. And it was
Right.
almost like God just put her in this bubble, favored her, and said, I'm gonna have you though bring this out to the world, even though you didn't get this.
Yeah.
That's
Because,
what I
she was saying that she's told other members of her family. She hasn't even told her dad because she said that
yes,
he just wouldn't receive it.
yes, yes.
Wow.
And I was sitting there like, because I come from the opposite. I have
Yes.
extremely strong supportive area
Yes.
of family and friends. So I was like, how does she not? But it was almost like she had that fight. I'm still going to get this done. We're going to figure this out. And she
Yeah.
had that fight to get through it, to get to the point where she is right now.
Yeah. And look what God did, though. He created a community for her.
Yes, he
One,
did.
he surrounded her with her own immediate family,
He
her
did.
husband and
He did.
kids,
He
who
did.
share
He did.
that common superpower.
He did.
Because she talked about, during the pandemic, they weren't as impacted by it because they were already at home, just in
Yes.
their own world, so to
Yes.
speak. So,
Yes.
so it's kind of, in a way, it is kind of a gift that God gave to her because, unfortunately, her family outside of her immediate
Yes.
family would not
Yes.
have received it very well. Yeah.
Yes.
But she's also going to be doing an international summit or conference, and she's
Yes.
going to be,
And what is that, in April? Yes, in April.
yeah, and
Yeah.
she's working on getting Dr. Temple Grandin, who
Yes.
is the world's leading authority on
Yes.
autism. I mean,
Yes.
many, many years ago, she literally diagnosed herself when she as a
Herself. Yeah.
child. Yes,
Yeah.
and she has gone
Yeah.
on
I've
and
read two. I've read a couple of her books, and I was like, wow. She was like, forget y'all. I'm just gonna figure this out.
and
That's what,
figured
when I read
out.
the book,
She did a
she
lot
was
of the
like,
research and wrote the books.
yeah. She was like, I'll do it
Yeah.
myself. Y'all not helping me. I'll do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've seen her speak, and it's interesting because I was working at a university where she was speaking, and
Hmm.
I could barely get in the door. Huge auditorium, huge auditorium.
Oh,
I mean, she is the authority. So I'm really
yes, she
looking
is.
forward
Yes.
to that conference. That's going to be amazing. And so
Yes.
we already told Sarah she's stuck with us now.
Oh yeah, I told her. I
Yeah,
said, yeah, the Lord asked that He wanted it, so we're together. Sorry. Get rid of us.
absolutely.
Sorry.
And so, this has been such an incredible year for us.
Yeah.
We could not have possibly thought that we would be introduced to people with, so much character, so much
Mhm.
drive. Their stories are all so very unique, but we see this, very similar superpowers. Like Sarah said, one of her superpowers is definitely love. And you can
Yes.
tell,
Yes.
when you
And
talk to
I would
people.
say hers is connection. She's very
Yeah.
good at connecting everybody to get, like, when I went on that 1 in 36 mix, it was
Mhm.
virtual. She knew all. I was like, these people all over the country, and she just the
Yeah.
connector piece that she had
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you said, she's just a very real down to earth
She
person.
is.
She has
She
a
is.
huge following.
Yes.
You can catch her on her uh, podcast and on
Yes.
her website, and you can
Hmm.
tell that it's just huge and blowing up. It's
Yes.
sjchilds.org. And I looked at that and I thought, this is a whole conglomerate. And then you told me, well, she's doing this out of her house.
Yes. Yes. And I was like, when I first, because we met first, and I was like, "Are you sure you was meaning?" Like, I wouldn't research you. Are you sure? Yes, but that, you know what? The Lord led her to us because she likes connecting.
Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with, and listeners, I mean, listeners, you need to know this too, even if you're in your own situation. It had nothing to do with how many listeners we already had, how many
Right.
subscribers we had. It was about, I feel like we can connect and you have something to contribute to this
The
community.
message.
And
Yeah,
so I
the message.
want to connect to you. And so that kind of broke that down, because I'm looking at it like we're the little guys on the totem pole and she's so
Mhm.
big. And she never seen that. She's saying,
No.
you're part of our community. You have something beautiful that I want to, it needs to be shared.
Yeah. And
And so
so
that
she was on our show and we were on her show.
on her show, yes, yes, very much so. Yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
And I think
Very true.
that's so important for listeners to know that one, you're not in this alone. Two,
Yes, yes,
there's a community.
yes,
If you just reach out a little bit, you're going to
yes,
find people
yes,
who
yes,
have been where you are or who may be right now where you are. In fact, you may be able to reach out and help somebody else when you're
yes,
thinking that you
yes,
need the help. Everybody does. There's
yes,
a role that everybody can play.
yes.
So I know we're really excited because one of our upcoming shows, we're going to be talking to some guys who we met through Eva Queen.
We
Um,
did. We
they
did.
have their own podcast, speaking of podcasts, and it's called Autism,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because it's a group of dads who have superpower kids. And
Yes.
they
Yes.
started a podcast because we knew that most of the people that we talk to are women.
Yes. Yeah. It
And
is. Yeah.
so, we know that dads are in there too. Like, look, I'm in the trenches. I'm working through this too with these
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
But you just don't hear about it and see it enough.
Right.
So
Right.
their decision to, you know what, let's do a podcast, I think, and they're going to tell us more about how they got started, but it
They
sounds
are.
like they are just a really great support system.
Yes. Yes.
So dads and guys out there,
And Stefan may even host that or help me host that show, because
that would be
I told
awesome.
him about it. He's real excited. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be tremendous. That
Yeah.
would be tremendous. And then, we're going to be researching, other conditions that are,
Yes.
I guess you would say they're associated with autism.
Yes.
So things
Yes.
like pathological demand avoidance. We'll
Mm-hmm.
get into that, and we'll try to bring some information and bring some resources and even bring some people who can share some strategies. If you have a child or somebody in your life who has that, in addition to the other autism symptoms.
And I think for us too, Brenda, that it gives us, because I know, you're a part of our family, you've been a part of Neo. There's certain experiences we just didn't experience because he didn't,
Yeah.
because you only meet one kid with autism, you only met one.
That's right.
So this one kid didn't experience it, but you and I both are getting a lot of people coming to us with other things. So it's having to force us to kind of go out and research more of these other behaviors, because we haven't experienced it in our life.
Right. So things like, ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, you see that a lot as part of autism, because, structure is what superpower people need.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And honestly, Mia, that's what makes them so valuable in the workplace, because they like structure and they like order, and they're not as easily distracted. When they're on task, they are on it.
Because remember, Jesse and Celeste that have the in Memphis were saying, hey, them working was not an issue. They didn't have turnover rates, or they didn't leave because they were,
they don't mind doing, some repetitive things. So
correct.
So, and I know we're going to tackle, this is going to be interesting. We're going to try to give some support and advice. What happens with your superpower kid when hormones start to get?
Yep, that's what I'm going through right now. I need all the support. List of people. We're going to have a lot of that on there.
Yeah. Because again, they don't stay little. They are going to grow up. They're going to, So how do hormones play into this?
Oh my gosh,
so we are going to also be discussing more about and having more families on the show, so we can talk about how do you maintain balance with everybody else in the family too. I mean, even Eva mentioned that when she was saying her middle daughter felt a combination of guilt and also neglect, because they had to put so much effort and attention into Amanda. And,
Yes.
so we're going to talk about how does the rest of the family balance? How do you keep that balance when you know that, I mean, just face it, there are times when your super kid is going to need more attention.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you keep that balance? So
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
yeah. So Mia, before we close, I just wanted to
Hmm.
ask you if you could share
Hmm.
maybe some things that you learned this year during the show that maybe you weren't expecting.
Um, I think the biggest thing that really helped me was what I touched on it was from that 1 in 36 mix,
Mm-hmm.
that our part of the that we contribute to the community is valuable. Because I thought, well, how is our part, when I seen that, it was so vast to me and so big, and there were
Mm-hmm.
so many different superpowers and communities, and I was like, they are little, do we really need to be here in that space? I think there was a little bit of just like insecurity. That's the word,
Okay.
insecurity of like, what is our part playing in this? How does our children's books, our radio show, how does this help? And so um the Lord came back to me, no, this is a part, you're a part of it too. It just, you don't look at it because it doesn't look the same way, or it's not as vast, whatever, but you have a part and you're helping people too. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that was eye opening for me, that our part is still quality, is still good. And
Yeah.
for me to make sure that I'm doing my part to research, to be excellent at my part.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I got intimidated. I think once I seen that, I was a little bit, and well, I could say I was intimidated the whole year, because it was just, let me stop lying. I was like, Deborah, who we talking to? Everybody else seemed to be way, and I was like, does our children's books really matter? Does our part
Well,
really matter?
and and just from a personal perspective, I've seen you grow leaps and bounds, in the way that you present yourself and present your story, and talk about your challenges and strategies with Neo. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just been a
Yeah,
joy.
it pushed me because I didn't want to do.
Yeah,
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 I didn't. Yeah, Regina.
but
Love you,
but
I love you, Regina, but I didn't want to do it. You drove me crazy for
but
3 months.
people need to see
Yeah.
regular people who are dealing with this, who
Yeah.
can reach
Yeah.
out, because sometimes if you think people are too big, you're intimidated to talk to them.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not
true.
going to get on the phone and call Holly Robinson Pete
Yeah.
because she's got a kid who's got a superpower, but yeah, you can call Mia,
Yeah.
or call any
Yeah.
one of us who are, supporters in that community. And I just think
Yes.
that being supportive, being curious, being
Yes.
open, and just having a heart for it. So,
Yes.
well, we are coming to the end of our anniversary show. So happy anniversary to you. And we will catch you next time.
Bye bye, guys.